Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about Go. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, is there a benefit for a web developer to learn Go? Well, I would say that yes, there is, as I've said in the video before that, there is always a benefit to learn something, but if it is for job purposes, I'm gonna just say maybe it's gonna depend on what region you are in, because if we look at the stats right now, Go isn't really, it's not really taking over. If at least not where from what I can see. And I know that, I mean, the following of Go is enormous. I think that it's fair of me to say that the only other communities that has the same sort of religious following that Go has is gonna be languages such as C Sharp, C++, and Ruby maybe. Uh, so I think Go is definitely getting a some type of religious text at some point. Uh, but if we just look at job availability and so forth, Go isn't really like it's really not the main choice of the companies out there, and I think that is it's kind of understandable, because the thing that I usually argue with the people who really love Go is that the benefits that Go brings, although I think that Go really does have a potential to become the next Java, but it very much depends on on quite a few factors. The thing that people seem to always underestimate when we talk about any language, doesn't matter if it's Go or whatever language, is that if you want people to adopt the language and actually bet on it, and usually you need to have people to migrate, because usually what happens is that you get a few success cases at larger companies or at companies that have some type of prestige that start pushing the language in the right direction, because their success means that the smaller players are going to be inspired, and all of a sudden, yeah, this is now a hype train, and we start the whole thing, start this dog and pony show all over again. That's not happening for Go. There are success cases, but the fact of the matter is that Go is just yet another way to build a web application. Sure, you have Go routines and you have the performance aspect, it's compiling down to binary, the syntax is lovely, everybody is saying all the right things, but the one thing that you can't get away from is that the only meaningful thing that Go can do is performance. That's literally the only thing. Like, it's not in any way giving you more than a small perks. And if you ask me, if we just look at the things that really do make the difference and really go and become the big things, usually, well, you're gonna have to do better than that. Small perks and benefits isn't something that that's gonna create a mass migration towards something else. Performance is absolutely a factor to a lot of companies, but let me tell you how the conversation usually goes, because one of my favorite arguments at the very least against or for Go is that, well, why would you want to build your a Java application now that you have Go? And I kind of go, well, if you have an entire ecosystem of Java services, you're probably gonna your Go isn't really gonna give you much in comparison. Like, if you have an entire ecosystem of Java services, why would you build one of them in Go? And the first counter argument is going to be, well, because Go is more performant. And I go, yes, it definitely is. But you know what a reasonable company is going to do? The first thing they're going to do is that before they say, you know what, let's fork off our code base into two parts now. We have all of these other packages, all of this other stuff invested in Java, but now they're not going to go, yeah, let's just rewrite the whole thing, like rewrite something in Go. That's not the first step. The first step is to figure out, can we do something with our current stack? Can we tweak this? Can we move this into a service? Can we create some other way of solving the performance issue? If they feel like there is no way to do that, then yes, then this becomes a necessity. Now the performance aspect is so important that we are willing to overlook the fact that this is going to cause a problem for us. This is what Uber did, for example. They realized that they actually needed, in certain cases, to use a more performance solution, but this is not the norm. And if you think about, say, something like Rust, yeah, the performance argument is there, but Go is not the only player. There are other languages and other solutions to the performance problem. So that leaves, in my opinion, Go with a lack. It has a lack of it lacks an identity, in my opinion. It really is, and this is not just Go. There's many languages like that. And that's why I believe that the reason why Go hasn't gotten like this rocket propelling adoption rate and like is as beloved as a language such as, say, Rust, is simply because it's not really giving you something new. It's just a different way of doing something that you have many choices. If you just want to build a web service, there's tons of choices, and all of them have pros and cons, and Go simply lacks that big thing that makes it wow, makes it this language that everybody goes, wow, we really believe that if we bet on Go, it's going to make a big difference for our project. And that is the sort of sensation you have to give people if you're going to stand out, at least these days. It's really rare that you see companies, I mean, if you look at, as an example, if you take the front-end community, I mean, if the change that something like React and Angular and so forth brought to that community is enormous. It basically changed the entire industry. Same thing with Java back in the day and C# and so forth. But today, like Go isn't really doing that. I think that Go has a shot, but I think a lot of stuff is going to have to happen before it becomes the first choice. And I think that, for me, if I were to start a new startup, and I mean, I actually talked to a few of my coworkers about using Go for a few of our projects, but trust me when I say this, it wasn't like, oh yeah, we're going to do something new, let's do it in Go, because it's just objectively the best choice. We had to go back and forth quite a few times before we settled that this might be a good solution for us, and that's not going to be good enough in general terms if you want to see that real adoption rate. So what I want you to take away from this is that I think Go is a great language, and I think that you should learn it if you're interested in learning about it and so forth. But for job purposes, at least now, it may not be the only choice around. You may find that you check the job postings. I can just tell you that there are many options out there that are probably going to be a better bet for you if you want to start working. Even though Go has a very thriving community and people really love it, it's simply, in my opinion, a language just as any other for building web services. It's not really doing anything all that different. It has perks that gives it a good use case for certain situations, but if you want to see Go become this take over the world type of language, it's going to have to get a much stronger language identity, and I just don't see that happening, especially not with a contender like Rust in the mix. If we ever get to a point where Rust gets up to the same level of feasibility for web development as Go is, I don't see any language beating Rust in the performance space. Have a great day.